Welcome to another episode of Extension Gardener on the Crystal Coast. Today I want to do the second video in my vegetable gardening series, and that's going to be on garden preparation. Here we have a vegetable garden that's been here. It's been around for probably 3 or 4 years. It's been used, and every time we pull a few weeds, we lose a little bit of the soil. Every time we pull a crop out, we lose a little bit of soil. And because we've added a lot of organic matter in here in the past, the organic matter decomposes over time, and so the volume is going to shrink a little bit every year. So what we want to do is we want to figure out about how much we're going to need to add in here to bring the soil level back up close to the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to take several measurements across the bed to figure out about how much we're going to need. And it looks like we're going to need about 2.5 to 3 inches of compost brought in to put on top to fill this bed up. So now I need to go somewhere where I can do a little bit of math to figure out how much volume or how many cubic feet of compost I'm going to need in order to fill this garden up. So let's go do the math. Okay, so here we are. We're going to do a little bit of math to figure out how much volume of a product we need to purchase in order to fill out the garden beds to get them filled up to where they need to be. We know that our beds are 12 feet long and 4 feet, so that's 12 feet by 4 feet. If we multiply that, we get square feet, which is going to be 48. We have 48 square feet. When we did the math, or when we did the measuring, we figured between 2.5 and 3 inches was the average depth that we were going to need in order to fill this all the way to the top. So let's go with 3 just to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So we take, and we need to figure out in how much, what percentage of a foot the 3 inches is. So we take the 12 inches in a foot, divide that by 3 inches, which is what we need. So 2 times 12 is 24, carry the 6, one more 0. 5 times 12 is 60, so that comes out to 0. So it's 0.25 feet. So we're going to multiply 0.25 feet to get a cubic foot or a volume of soil. So 0.25 times 48, we'll just do this the quick way. That's going to be 12 feet cubed, or 12 cubic feet. So that's what we're going to need. Since we're buying in volume, we're actually going to need to figure out what percentage of a cubic yard 12 cubic feet is. If you are just purchasing bags of compost or potting mix to fill the beds, most of those, you could just take this right here, because most of those are sold in cubic foot bags, so it's either going to be 1 cubic foot or 2 cubic foot or 3 cubic foot per bag, and you would just buy the number of bags that you would need to fill this up. We're going to buy it in bulk. So what we're going to do is we need to figure out what percentage of a cubic yard 12 cubic feet is. So for those of you who aren't sure what a cubic yard is, if we have a cube here, and we draw it as a cube. A cubic yard is 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. So we take that and we multiply that. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So there's 27 cubic feet in 1 cubic yard. So if we take the 12 cubic feet and divide that by the 27, we get 4 times 8 is 28, or 4 times 7 is 28, 4 times 2, so that's 10. We do the math here, we get 12, so that's going to be 4 again, and we're just going to keep going 4, 4, 4. So 0.44 cubic feet is what we need. Let's just round that up to a half a cubic yard per bed, because we're going to, per bed, and we're going to have 3 beds. So we're going to multiply that by 3, because we have 3 beds. and they all need about the same volume of area, or same volume of soil or compost to fill up those beds. So we're going to need to order about 1.5 cubic yards. So my next step is to go and order that fill. What we're going to get is we're going to get a 50-50 mix of potting mix and compost to fill that up. That's going to give us a little bit of aerification with the potting mix, a lot of organic matter with the compost, and we'll fill those beds up and till it in. Those will be our next steps. All right, so the fill finally came in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fill those beds up. But before we fill the beds up, we want to level them off, so we're making sure we put the same amount of compost over the entire bed. And then we're going to put the fill in. Once we get the fill all put in, then we're going to till all the fill in. Now, if you don't have a raised bed and you're wanting to amend the soil in your existing garden that's in the ground, you put about 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches of compost over the top of the existing soil, till that into the top 4 to 6 inches of soil, and that should give you a really good garden soil. Once we get that all filled up, then we're going to, and tilled in, then we're going to rake it up, make it smooth, and we'll move on to the next step from there. Okay, now that the garden's filled and tilled, it's all smoothed out. We want to let it rain on it once or twice to settle the soil just a little bit, because it's really, really fluffy right now. And if we try to put any seed down in there, it's going to sink really, really low. We don't want that. So this is set and ready to go. Next step will be in just a couple of days. That's going to be planting the seeds or transplants and installing the irrigation. All right, until next time, happy gardening.